He left. Okay. Marie Paganini.
She read the letter that I was.
Okay. Sharon Minnerly.
I'm no longer going to speak here. I expect Juliana was going to handle that.
Okay. Brian McDonald.
Good evening. I'm Brian McDonald, 86 Wyoming Avenue. I have sort of mixed feelings about giving this speech tonight, but you gave me a microphone, and you're here. I sort of feel I should save it for the Board of Finance, but I guess I have your attention. Despite your good intentions and understanding of the problems, I fear that the Board of Finance will be looking for their pound of flesh. I'm here tonight to voice my support for the programs and the teachers who are coming under the microscope of budgetary scissors. I taught for 36 years in another Litchfield County school system, ironically teaching Spanish to 7th and 8th graders. I can attest to the success of the program brings and how much it is respected by better colleges. It's unfair to students to eliminate it from the curriculum, not to mention foolish, along with the other languages. In my free time as a retiree, I took the time to browse the web, which ranked school districts here in Connecticut. I didn't expect to find this contender with Avon, Ridgefield, and New Fairfield, but I didn't expect Torrington to be ranked 117th out of 165 either. My gosh, instead of eliminating and cutting programs, we should be out there hiring positions previously eliminated through attrition and through reduction. Since the year 2000, positions have been systematically eliminated through attrition, and they have severely, no more profoundly wounded the continuity of our educational progression. Where are all the electives that were promised to students to go along with their fields of interest? Within the last 10 years, the credits available for high school students has dropped from 32 to 29. The passing grade was lowered, and the dropout and the expulsion rate soared. How can we expect to better our school systems by continually chopping the people and programs that run the school? After the last battle we received from the accreditation committee, I can't believe that we are tempting the forces that be to deny accreditation for not supplying the students with classes and services. You don't draw people and businesses into our town by letting the school system flounder. Fight for our students and they will blossom. Don't chop programs just for the sake of saying I did. Do the right thing. Make us proud of our school systems and they will pay dividends in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Battle.
My name is William Battle. I'm a senior citizen with an adolescent boy in a middle school, so I have a special
Excuse me, Bill, could you get a little closer to the mic because we really can't hear you.
Oh, okay. My name is William Battle. I'm a senior citizen with an adolescent boy in the middle school, so I hope you'll bear with me a minute. I'm a little bit naive. I'm still from that age where we talk about English and diagramming sentences on the boards and things like that. So what I'm going to say here is, one of the things that we've been talking about is, I wonder, now that we have a local superintendent that I'm very happy to have, why do we not take the next step, maybe, and consider municipal control of our school system? Why do we have to give up all of our options to the state and their mandates, many of which come to us with restrictive covenants that have our teachers bent into pretzels trying to make them work for the school systems? And it's time, I think, that we look in terms of municipal control of the schools. For instance, who says that we need to have thousands of dollars spent on a technology system simply to test our CMT students 2 years from now? What is the need for that? Why do we have to have that? What is the purpose of it? Is that for the state to know what we're doing here? I'm quite sure they can figure it out. Why do we need all of these mandates to come that don't have anything to do with education? Why are we funding in our school system the ability, and I understand that we may need this, but I don't believe that we can teach parenting. It's an interesting concept, and I know a lot of people have thought about it, but I don't think it can be taught, and it definitely shouldn't be taught at school. It can be taught other places other than the school system. Why are we having so many things that don't have anything to do with education that's part of our school system? That's something that I would like you all just take a minute or so and think about when we're cutting things that really we need in the school system. They don't have to be there. That's all I have to say. Once again, I'm from an old-fashioned place where my alma mater, Hill House High School, had the same as this one, called Bacchus Beni Fac, which meant that you had to know the Latin in order to understand it. It means whatever you do, do well. One hopes that we can still do that. The other thing about Torrington, if you look at the weekend newspapers, our graduate students are making Dean's List all over the country in some of the better schools. We're not doing as bad as they say we are.
Mary?
Good evening. I'm Mary Svech-Giuliano. I teach at Vogel Wetmore School in Torrington, and I will tell you this is my 27th year in the Torrington Public School System, and I am very proud to be a Torrington Public School teacher. I say 27 years just to let you know the consultants have been here 4 years longer than the previous speaker was able to attest to. So far, the most appalling thing I think I've heard tonight is that our math consultant for grade 5 is a non-essential position. I consider her to probably be the most essential position, along with our literacy positions at the elementary level. I took the time to collaborate some statements from teachers that I would like to share with you that they sent me via email. With the Common Core state standards coming, there are significant changes taking place at each grade level. Teachers will need leadership to implement these changes. That is exactly what the K-5 math curriculum person does. She also provides consistency in implementing the math curriculum across our 5 elementary schools. Without her, I'll jump to another teacher who called her the glue. Give me 1 second. She is the glue that binds our math across the district. The second thing, I find it amazing when the whole country is moving towards math and science improvement that you would even question the removal of a math consultant when that is one area of need that we continue to strive to improve year after year. And as you can tell by the data, we are improving it. Another teacher wanted to share the meaningful professional development that the math consultant provides. She meets with teachers on a monthly basis. And that's every teacher, every grade level across the district. I don't know how to convey to you how amazing that is to me. I meet with her once a month, and sometimes I feel like it's an inconvenience in my preparations for my classroom. I can't imagine doing the amount of meetings that she does. She assists any teacher, anytime in examining student work, in identifying patterns and data to help our instruction in our classroom, not just district-wide. She will sit with a teacher, she will look at what you're doing as a teacher, she will look at the outcomes of your students, and she will let you know what you can do better. As a regular classroom teacher, I don't have that expertise. And I truly feel my kids would not be as successful in math if it was not for this math consultant. She will come and model any lesson. If she is trying to explain something, if the math consultant is trying to explain something, they come into the classroom and they model for you exactly what it is they are trying to get you to do, trying to share with you, trying to improve upon your teaching. She is, the math consultant researches the most current math materials. She shares them with us, provides us with materials, assists us. One other teacher went to say that she stays way beyond her call of duty to assist in this teacher's classroom to help with the students. I would like to finally leave you with just one thought. If you remove this K-5 consultant, that leaves these elementary students with 0 help in math.
Is there anyone that came in after the sign-up list was pulled? Aye.
Jim Powell, 292 Highfield Drive. I just wanted to give you a little information in terms of athletics that may help you in your decision-making. I understand that I was asked to make a 10% cut. I was able to cut approximately $30,000 and still feel like we hadn't destroyed anything yet. In addition to the custodial overtime being added to the athletic budget this year, we increased the salary of the athletic trainer by request of Charlotte Hungerford by $3,000 total. And we also had to increase our insurance that we have for the student athletes because there were more claims being made than in the past. So there's 3 significant line items that were added to the budget before, you know, that we would have to add to last year's operating budget in order for it to come out anywhere near equal. On Monday, I held a emergency coaches meeting. They looked at what I had done. They felt confident what I had done would work, and if need be, at the high school level, the general feeling was that the $25 pay to play was not a big issue, that it could be handled if that was something we were asked to do. I guess that's about it for now. I know there'll be more discussion, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for your comments. We are back to the last topic that had been brought up in the early discussions, and that is the coaching positions. Are there any motions as far as the coaching positions?
I'd like to make a motion that we eliminate the 3 coaching positions, 2-year positions that have been on the books, and eliminate those 3 positions.
Just to clarify, that's numeracy K through 5, numeracy 6 through 12, and literacy 6 through 12.
Those 3 positions, yes.
All right, do we have a second for that? Second for Mr. Cavanero. Okay, discussion.
I have a question on the literacy coaches at the elementary school. You're saying each school, all 5 elementary schools have a literacy coach? So there's 5, they're coaches or consultants, I'm not sure the difference, but, and those 5, none of those 5 have actual classes either, where they
Yes.
teach?
Not a self-contained classroom. They are in classrooms all day long because it's how you provide literacy instruction into small groups. You don't teach a class of 20 reading anymore, literacy. It's not how it works.
So that,
They also do everything else that was listed in the information you received this weekend. It's,
To answer your question, Andrew, they don't sit in a specific classroom, no. They travel from classroom to classroom to assist the other teachers.
okay.
What's really hard for me is to be honest with you, this is the first time I've had it actually explained to me, thank you for whoever came forward, the breakdown of the actual coaching structure within our school system. I mean, just so you know, what the board got was this, you probably can't see it, but it's very, very difficult for lay people like on the board to follow exactly what any of this means. And like it or not, as I know you know, down to talking about, it's just remarkable when it comes to at the beginning of the budget season, we talk about, oh, we're gonna take 2.5 teachers from here, we'll take 4 teachers from there, we'll take 6 teachers from there. It just seems like, all of a sudden, when you're talking about just eliminating teachers, it's very easy and facile. It just seems like there isn't a whole lot of discussion. But then when it moves up the food chain to something that we thought, the board thought, were basically administrative positions, suddenly there's, the cavalry's called in and there's a whole lot of data that is thrown at us, and we're supposed to try to absorb it and come to an honest assessment of what is really needed. And when I look at this, I realize the elementary literacy coaches, I mean, that's been going on since what year? How long have they been in the system?
Elementary,
I mean, years and years.
27.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is when I see, okay, because again, as a board member, when I get this data and I see, my point was made earlier, I see basically improvement throughout.
That's in mathematics. It's the same chart that you just received.
And I'm seeing a lot of it I'm basically seeing, for the most part, continuing in writing and writing as well. Reading and writing, I'm seeing basically a move forward, going back to 2006. I was under the impression that we were talking about error positions from basically, that were in place for 1 year, and that was right. And that was what was being attributed to this success. And there's been steady success prior to this, and I wanted to be sure that we're talking about the regular teachers, not the coaches, but that this progress is being made by regular teachers, probably most of whom are not represented here, who day to day do their job as they were hired to do. And then it became a question of what was the luxury in all of this? Do we need the literacy certification? Yeah, I think we need those elementary 5. I don't know. I don't know why anymore we need math. I know you say we have to have them. It seems like you hire. That's what's also difficult. I want you to understand this. Those of you who are teachers out there. Those of us who aren't teachers who aren't in public education. It's hard for us, as taxpayers, but also as parents, and just as responsible adults in our fields of work. I mean, we don't have coaches. When we're hired to do a position, we're expected to know how to do that. And it's just difficult for us to understand why teaching math in 2011, 2009, 2007, why that's so different than teaching math 20 years ago. It's hard to understand that.
It's not just computation and regurgitation. Students really have to think. They have to be able to.
But they did. I remember students thinking when I was in school. I do. I do.
But it's.
And we had nuns, for God's sake. Some of the nuns managed to teach us how to do reading, writing, and arithmetic. But we didn't have consultant nuns. We didn't. They had yardsticks.
It's very different. What students are expected to be able to do. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're
multiplication tables changed.
It's how you apply it. You just don't regurgitate that 3 times 5 is 15. You have to be able to say, when would I use this in a problem? Students are given problems. They have to be able to read it. They have to understand not only the concept language, but also the instructional language. They have to determine, they have to get the answer, but they also have to be able to say how they got the answer. They have to explain their thinking process.
Okay, I get that, but isn't that what the teacher's job is to do? When we hire a teacher for a 4th grade class, isn't that what the 4th grade teacher's job is? Isn't that why we hire them? Aren't they trained to do that?
Yes.
But why do they need coaching?
Because your standards are changing on what is expected on each grade level now. What is the outcome for students? It's all changing. Where it used to be in the spiral, and Sue, you can chip in at any time, but where it was a spiral, now we're saying this is specifically what they need to be able to demonstrate K2, 3, 5. So in the past, might have started being taught on a kindergarten level, and then it was added to on a 1st grade level, and then it added to a 3rd grade level. They're no longer looking at the instruction that way. They're saying this is solidly what students have to be able to demonstrate.
But you have a generation of this, and we're falling further and further and further behind other countries in the industrialized world.
This is our national state standards, which Connecticut is going to adhere to, rather than our own curriculum frameworks. It's going to, so this is for every child.
Before the days of external accountability, teachers could teach what they chose, and they could follow a program. You could hand them books, say, start at chapter 1 and work your way through. Now, in the age of accountability, it's not only important for the teachers to deeply understand their content, but they also have to utilize a very wide variety of instructional strategies, which they may or may not have been exposed to in their teacher education programs, in order to reach all of the students with the many different learning needs that they have. In order for teachers to keep up with their daily planning, and it was pointed out earlier, especially at the elementary level, it's not a single content area, but multiple content areas for which they must prepare. They need to have someone with content expertise who deeply understands the information to assist them in providing what the students in their class need. Part of the reason why we have been so successful in our elementary math scores, so respectable across the state, is that teachers have had that ongoing support and expertise and encouragement. They have a position that's dedicated to being state-of-the-art, to providing them with resources, and to assuring that their skills continue to be improved on a day-to-day basis for their professional benefit and for the benefit of their students. So it's not a free-for-all anymore. We have very, very clear accountability measures that we have to address because of state assessments, because of federal assessments. Maybe addresses what Mr. Battle says earlier, but that's the world in which we live in education today.
But the standards are going down.
All right.
It's going down.
So, no, we're gonna go over here. You guys, we're gonna let everybody get a chance to get their first comments in. Mr. Kiska.
Huge difference between what we're doing now and what we used to do, and an even bigger difference between what could happen in parochial schools a few years ago and what happens in public schools now. These teachers would kill for the kinds of family background for their students that you could expect. In a parochial school.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what's happening. It looks so easy. I went into a fourth grade classroom. I responded to the letters that they sent us. Remember that stack we got from one of the fourth grades? Well, I went back and talked to them. That classroom was the kind of classroom that you saw in teacher training videos when I was, a million years ago, when it was on 16 millimeters. The kids are all sitting there, well-behaved, cute, clean, and polite. The classroom was set up perfectly, posters and everything else. It was all perfect. And that doesn't just happen, though. If anybody who wasn't skilled at the fourth graders, Bart Simpson's in fourth grade. Right? Isn't he in fourth grade? If people who weren't experienced and trained just walked in and tried to make that happen, it wouldn't work. And they need all the help they can get. The help that teachers used to get from families, that they could expect from families, from parents, and from, yeah, right. And the community, they now have to either provide themselves or get from the various support people around them. Principals, assistant principals, in this case coaches, if that's the topic of discussion now, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't just happen. It happens because we are willing to devote the resources so that the classroom teachers can use those. Anytime a classroom teacher shifts from third to fourth grade sounds easy. You move people around, you put a position here or there. So some teacher who's used to teaching third grade now teaches fourth grade. Very different standards, especially now that the state is defining more and more of what has to happen by the end of the year at any grade level, or at the end of any second grade, the next grade up. Huge amount of difference. You need some help in doing that. So I understand why these coaches are necessary. And the elementary school is probably a better place for a coaching position anyway, because elementary teachers, I think in general, are more collaborative. The school is set up that way. They're more, I think, I hate to say anything bad about high school teachers, but the elementary teachers are more willing to cooperate with each other and actually get along and do what they're told. High school teachers all want to have it our own way. And, But anyway, no, when Ken starts talking about maybe the secondary coaches being cut in the interest of maybe some greater stability because of administrative positions, I hear that. I'd go along with that. I don't have any problem with that. But at the elementary level, you need those people.
Mr. Marola.
First of all, I mean, to say that, you know, a 3.59% increase is irresponsible, I personally feel that the city asking for a 0% for the third year in a row is irresponsible. I do. And other city boards have gone above a 0, and I think we have a lot of catching up to do with 2 years of 0. And I think this is how we have to do it.
Mr. Rivera.
I'd like to bifurcate the coaching positions from secondary to primary. I really would hope that we consider maybe amending the motion to address elementary and secondary separately. John stole a little bit of my thunder, but again, K through 5, the data supports the use, or the need, rather, for this position. I also think, again and again, if they have good foundations in elementary school, it's easier in middle school and high school. The trend will follow them up. Correct me if I'm wrong, the 6 through 12, both of them were grant funded. Was the K through 5, it never was grant funded. So to me, it's a different animal. I mean, we're talking about positions that were grant funded, ones that were never grant funded. They're different school systems. You have a numeracy coach that does all 5 schools in K through 5. It's amazing to me. I would just like to, I wish we could talk about it separately. I can't vote for everything all at once. Again, it's not my motion, so.
Yeah,
There is a motion.
Motion to eliminate all 3.
Do you have anything there? No?
I'm in agreement with Chris.
Yeah, no, I would echo.
Daniel?
I agree with Chris.
Why don't we just vote?
Do you have a wish to amend your motion as requested, or do you want to leave it on its merit? All right. Seeing no more discussion, the motion is to terminate the 3 coaching positions, 2 numeracy, and 1 literacy. Sorry. You tell where my strong point was in school. All those in favor? Opposed? Afraid of where it's going to go.
Okay.
They were all just standing.
I know.
She got to sit down. Yes,
Okay.
Mrs. Captain.
I am not comfortable at all going into next year without an additional assistant principal at Torrington High School. We have created the perfect storm at Torrington High School between cutting all the department heads, cutting the assistant principal, the increase of the differential in the student population entering the high school. And I am not going to next year blame the high school if we set them up for failure. So I would like to make a motion that we add an assistant principal to Torrington High School and that the administration determine how they're going to pay for that position.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Marola. Discussion. John? Anything?
I think it's a great idea to put a new administrator, an additional administrator into the high school.
Anything?
Absolutely.
Second?
Second.
Anything? Agree? Any discussion? Yes, Mr.
I'm glad that we like administrative positions, coaching positions, people like that. But if your concern is discipline, why wouldn't you propose, instead of having a high-priced assistant principal, why wouldn't you ask for a second resource officer
lost our resource officer at the middle school due to the fact that the police department was understaffed. If we have a student resource officer, we do not control when that person's there. If the police department needs them, they take them. If we have a dedicated employee of ours, we control their work schedule. No one can take them away.
But why should it be an assistant principal as opposed to someone who's actually has expertise in being a quasi-resource officer, or not a quasi-resource officer? I mean, there's no school district anywhere that employs resource officers who aren't directly employed by the local police departments or the state police department.
You could add, we have what is his position? We have a security para in the high school now.
Well,
You could increase that position. You could hire an outside security company.
What are our options?
And what's the dollar?
It's a valid, intelligent question. What are the options besides adding another administrator plus salary and benefits and increasing our administrative staff? Once again.
Well, ultimately, all those positions can do is investigate. They can't hand down any discipline. Right now, what's going on, we're tying up our administrators with discipline issues. We're tying their hands to be able to do what they should be doing in their building, evaluating staff, working with staff, going to PPTs. There is not enough of them at the high school to justify the numbers. We see the numbers every month of what's going on. You know, they're cracking down on discipline. We want them to hold students accountable. They need support to be able to do that. Having 100 investigators that can't seal the deal doesn't help anybody. You need people that can split it out, whether it be by grade level, however they want to structure it. The person's got to be able to finish what they started. What good is it if the 3 people up there get 200 reports on their desk every day? This is what we're investigating, now you take it over. They can't finish it. So it doesn't matter how many we have up here.
And how does an assistant principal finish the deal when the student commits an assault or some form of misdemeanor or felony, and the police department has to come take that student away?
Because it ends with them.
Finish the deal.
No, because they can determine the discipline. No one else can. If the student gets arrested, that's separate from the discipline the school issues. Someone has to determine if the student is suspended, brought forward for expulsion. The police department doesn't do that. The administrator does that. The arrest is a separate incident to what the school dictates the discipline is.
Mr. Jocelyn?
Just to clarify, in serious disciplinary issues that come up, ones that typically result in an in-school suspension, an out-of-school suspension, or an expulsion, you're required to do a due process hearing with the individual. The administrator is required to be there, is required to hear the student's testimony, required to hear the witness's testimony, and provide that meeting with the student, which is required by law before you administer any serious discipline. Now, you can have a security para, you can have a security officer, but unless you have an administrator to sit in on that due process hearing, you're not staying under the law.
And our administration personnel have been so overburdened with these hearings and matters that they're not being able to stay on top of it.
I think that's what we're hearing from the board, that...
well, I mean, you would know more than the board.
Well, that's not the only thing.
That's not necessarily true. We do attend those meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. We go. So we do know what happens at those levels.
Yeah, how many meetings, how many expulsion hearings have you done this year?
About 15,
Yeah,
You've done 15.
Yeah.
So,
plus or
to a
minus.
month. So you have 2 assistant principals up there now and a principal.
But expulsions happen at all levels. I mean, sometimes
And
they...
there's also in-school suspensions.
Out-of-school suspensions.
Out-of-school suspensions, on top of evaluations that need to be done by a certain date, on top of hopefully working with teachers and resolving staffing issues, coverage issues, things of that nature, so.
And PPTs.
PPT, thank you.
And parents.
And parents that are complaining. And attendance.
Mr. Kiska?
Most of these disciplinary things that assistant principal does don't rise to the level of police intervention. The kid who doesn't behave in class, who maybe needs to be talked to somebody besides by somebody besides the teacher, the kid who doesn't get to class that time, these are not things that require police intervention, a uniformed officer carrying a gun. I'm not a big fan of SROs. We maybe need them at Torrington High. I don't know. I would much rather have that kid go to an assistant principal, someone who's probably been a teacher, who knows how to hear both what the sending teacher, if it's a kid who's been referred to the office, and the kids say, and then to make a decision about how to go with that. Someone who has the confidence of the teacher, someone who has the confidence of the upper administration, the guidance officers, and someone who can deal from an educational standpoint with parents and with whomever else in the community they need to. I would hate to think that everything that a kid did, especially for the kids that you can save, and you can save 99% of them if you do it right, you push them away with a cop. You really need, I think, to have, and you can have a strong assistant principal can probably do more than a cop, in fact, because they don't